Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. It takes place in the small Australian town of Berkeley, where the local beauty pageant winner Rene has just lost her family's farm to the bank. She's given a lift into the city by her sleazy agent when a meteor breaks up over Earth and begins raining down on the small town. A number of local residents are struck dead by the meteorites and instantly turn into flesh-eating zombies that begin to attack their friends. Meanwhile, Rene and her agent are prevented from leaving the town by a recent car crash, so the driver hops out to check on the situation. He finds a blood-soaked driver's seat having been struck by a meteorite and an unresponsive passenger, but as he reaches out it cuts to black. It's just a jump scare for Rene as he tells her about the woman, but he's suddenly dragged under the car and heard screaming. Arming herself with the steering wheel lock, Rene climbs onto the roof of the car but gets knocked off and rises to her first reveal of a zombie. With a single swing she cuts the soft-tissued monster down the center when her agent reanimates as a mindless zombie staggering towards her. He's suddenly shot by the triple-barreled wielding Marion, who cuts the zombie in half and just wanders past Rene into the bush. Terrified, she takes off running and comes across an old home where she removes her jacket on the porch as the acidic rain's causing it to smoke. As she's banging on the door, Rene witnesses a grasshopper in the rain being abducted before a key falls from the lock and she's able to get inside. It's the home of the shotgun-wielding stranger who Rene attempts to sneak up on, but he notices her reflection in a kettle. She asks if she can use the conspiracy nut's phone, but it's broken and he doesn't sound so crazy anymore when he says that this is just the beginning of the end. Meanwhile, local boy Wayne's attempting to flee with two other survivors when they come across the same car crash, and Aggie gets out to check what's going on. The wounded woman from earlier hops out of the truck, as does the pregnant Sallyanne, just to witness the zombie punch a hole through Aggie's head and feast on her brain. The cowardly Wayne takes off running, leaving his pregnant girlfriend behind when realizing what he's done and returning to save her. They run to the nearest house also, and while Marion is skeptical about opening the door, Rene swipes his key and lets the hysterical couple inside. Soon a pair of police officers arrive, Constable Molly and the schizo Sergeant Harrison, who's convinced that the pandemic's just the result of some bad eggs. They have a history with the gun-toting Marion and tell him to drop his pistols when a horde of zombies break down the door and the homeowner shoots them. He tosses the pistols into the air and takes Harrison's shotgun to shoot the ones entering the rear before catching them again and firing at the front. When the group's overwhelmed, they retreat into the seemingly dead-end basement as Marion tumbles down the stairs behind them and the horde follows. Before it reaches them, the survivalist leads them deeper underground and seals them inside a fallout shelter impenetrable by the undead. Unfortunately, he hasn't had time to stock it with food and says that they don't want to drink the rainwater as it's all part of this attack. Soon everyone has to put up with second place Sally shouting that the reason that Rene won the beauty pageant was because she herself is currently pregnant. When Rene questions Marion on the story behind the lure around his neck, we see a flashback to the time he was fishing and a meteorite landed in his boat. He was suddenly attacked by a zombie fish and had a close encounter with an alien spaceship that brought the storms from earlier and abducted the fisherman. Marion's lure cut into his hand as he killed the fish, and it became his lucky lure when the wound seemingly healed by itself. Despite the group's insistence to leave the shelter and find out what's going on, Harrison's no weather girl but says that this thing must happen all of the time. He quickly changes his tune when Sallyanne goes into labor, and it's either leave the shelter to visit the hospital or deliver it himself. He commandeers all of Marion's weapons but still forces him to take the lead as they return through a now empty basement. The house is the same, but when Harrison goes to take the keys from the wall hook, a zombie grabs him and he's saved by Marion. He's luckily hidden pistols in his overalls, and when more of the horde returns, the whole group uses his bag of weapons to fight back. Rene assists the nervous Molly in shooting, and when her agent returns having put himself back together, she blows his top half off again. Marion retrieves his hidden shotguns from the kitchen and sends two zombies into the bench who are killed by falling knives. He then swan dives his spurs into the wall for some fancy shooting on his way back to the rest of the group. Harrison spends the whole fight trying to unjam his shotgun, and when he finally does, all he shoots is the agent's wandering legs. He then kills the top half, but it wakes up all of the other undead who weren't shot in the head, so they retreat upstairs to the bathroom. Marion lands a headshot, discovering that it's the only way to keep them down, as apparently there aren't any zombie movies in the Outback. He informs the others of their weakness, then blows a hole through the bathroom floor into the garage below where his van sits waiting. Still under the power-tripping Harrison's leadership, he's too afraid to go in himself, so he sends Molly in first to check out the area's safe. The zombies kick down the bathroom door, so Rene puts a single bullet through a trio's head before they all leap down to the garage. Marion takes the wheel and floors it through soft-bodied locals in his front yard before getting back on the road and heading away from town. They reach the outskirts only to find a huge spiked barrier surrounding the town, which Marion blames on the aliens, and Harrison decides to climb. Feeling sick, Marion walks back to the van to pass out, and when he wakes up it's now nighttime and the officers scaled nearly the entire wall. The electrified clouds prevent him from going any further as the acidic rain begins to fall on the group of survivors. They retreat back to the van to strip down and wash it off with bottles of water while Harrison falls from the slippery spikes and dies on impact. Out of nowhere, Molly turns into one of the zombies, but when Marion finds her in the rain, she's seemingly returned to normal. Suddenly a beam of light abducts the constable like it did Marion all those years ago before the group witness a glowing hooded figure standing by the wall. Marion's ready to fight this time, but he's forced by Wayne at gunpoint to drive them away and back towards Berkeley for supplies. The whole place is now abandoned and the group go to a convenience store to get clothes and food when the locals begin to show up. Marion stuffs a shaken soda into a zombie's mouth, then slides backwards on spilt liquids to obtain a pen and blow his head up. Rene turns a broom and a saw blade into a zombie killer to slice down the rest of the crowd while Marion comes face to face with the hooded figure, but it's shot dead by Wayne. They try to escape the town, but Marion's surrounded by the strangers who toss a handful of water in his face before abducting him for a second go. The three survivors flee to a nearby airport where Wayne knows how to fly the small craft, but they're attacked again in the pouring rain. The zombies suddenly begin reverting into humans again before being taken into the sky by the beams of light. The girls assume that Wayne dies when one of the cured won't release their grip on him until he's high enough to cause serious damage. Without any other way to fly the plane, Rene drives the van while a distraught Sallyanne sits in the back, not knowing that Wayne recovers. He takes the light aircraft to chase them, avoiding the beams of light as one attempts to remove Sally from inside the van, causing Rene to crash into a ditch. Sallyanne gets abducted, leaving Rene as the last known human inside the alien quarantine zone as they peel back a glowing membrane to reveal their true appearance. One tosses a chemical mixed into the rainwater in her face and the cut on Rene's forehead heals as it's described as a cure. The aliens are here to keep the infection from spreading and abduct Rene along with the rest of the humans to suspend them above the clouds and keep them safe. Meanwhile, Wayne comes across the survivors and begins killing them by the dozens as he crashes through them, unaware of what the hell's going on. He collides with Molly, who would still be alive if it weren't for him, and once over the giant wall he leaps from the craft and skydives to the ground. From the outside of Berkeley he witnesses the large quarantine zone as the rest of humanity cleans up anything that leaves the area. They find the plane crash and just think that Molly's the pilot when finding her body inside, and with that job done the aliens pack up the wall and return home. Assuming that it's completely cured, they forget about Wayne, who's still sick with the infection, and joins the crowd of celebrating people. Everyone's treated at the hospital where Rene says to Marion that more people would have survived if they didn't shoot them in the head. She exits the building, not noticing Wayne entering to admit himself, but he transforms into a zombie and infects Marion first before spreading the plague once again. Sometime later, Rene's shown with a 4-barreled shotgun guarding a fenced area containing the zombified residents of Berkeley while waiting for the return of the aliens. And the movie ends.